Hello and welcome to the Morning Brief. It's bright and early right here in Lagos, Nigeria, the nation's commercial nerve center. I'm Jeffrey Uzong, guys.
And we're upbeat and ready to go. Welcome to your perfect morning starter. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kayode Okikilu. Tuesday, second weekday in the month of June already. We're counting down to now, I should say, the midterm of the 10th National Assembly.
Exactly.
Because we did for the presidency, that's the executive for the federal and the states as well. But the assemblies also have a lot of work to do, and it's important to keep tabs with them. The work of lawmaking, oversight, appropriation. They have a job of work to do, and not to talk of a judiciary with the just on strike. And we've seen some of their arms pulling out and say we're not a part of it, but we're still seeing how this has crippled the work of a judiciary across state. So it's safe to say we have fingers on the pulse this morning.
Yeah, not just the pulse, but also numbers. And unfortunately, some of the numbers that we're keeping tabs with are not very good. 159 deaths and counting in Niger State. We thought that with the early prediction of NIMET earlier in the year about floods in some parts of the country, that we would be counting lives saved, we'll be counting agriculture preserved in those areas that look more agrarian than urban settlements. We were hoping that we'll be counting particularly efforts of government, at mitigation and adaptation, preparation rather than this reactionary approach to managing disasters arising from floods. This is very, very unsettling, especially when you consider that, Niger State for the year 2025 has over ₦1 trillion for its 2025 appropriation. So the question is really, how much was appropriated for the Ministry of Environment in that state? And if you look at, that place, it's the terrain, the roads are not necessarily impressive. And we're counting not just Mokwa community now. From reports from yesterday, we know that 2 other communities were affected, with bridges and infrastructure linking the communities also damaged. So what about we keep talking about this year in, year out. What about the ecological funds for the preservation of environments, for mitigation and adaptation projects for these areas? So these are the issues really that we should be reviewing, and of course asking important questions of our elected representatives, either at the state level or the National Assembly level. And some people have rightly said that this goes to the heart of ideas of our politicking, that there are no real ideas defining political party representation, and by extension those whom we have elected to lead us, either it's at the national level or is at the state level, because ideas for the preservation of the environment, for building human capital at the health sector level and at the education level goes to whether there are virile ideas or not.
Okay, and that's exactly where we'll start from, the floods. We started our conversation yesterday with the State Emergency Management Agency yesterday, and today we will be talking to one of the persons in cabinet who will be bringing us up to speed as to the effort of government in ensuring that this does not happen again. So that's a major highlight on the program, guys.
Point. Some put it at 200 at least. Officially, it's 159. But the fears are the death toll might keep climbing when it comes to the flooding in Niger State, particularly because they're now combing through the Niger River just to see what they can find there. So we'll be touching base with the authorities in Niger State to speak to the humanitarian situation, plans for now, future. And of course, NIMET's early warning, thunderstorms, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What states will be affected? That's also big on the conversation this morning.
And we'll move from there to what's happening in Benue State. Looks like an unending series of attacks. So whilst we try to do whatever we want to do, More attacks are happening in Benue State. This time the death toll, 27 persons in 2 local government areas of Benue State. What exactly has to be done to stop our citizens being killed time and again within the Middle Belt? That's part of our conversation today on the program.
Oh, that's not all. There's this trending social media content creator, know him as Sarki Mota. Well, the National Orientation Agency wrote him a letter recently, and well, the NOA didn't quite like the civil servant's reference in his videos. So there's content creation, there's just satire, there's comedy. Where does this fall into really? Well, we'll be having a sit down with the man himself, Sarki Mota, just to get a sense behind his creativity, how he's handling all of this. Does he have a grouse against civil servants, really? But more importantly, talk about the creativity he's bringing to bear in his craft.
And of course, you are the 4th anchor on the show this morning and always. So we'll be taking feedback from you on our social media handles and of course, via email as well. It will be showing on your screen very soon. So what are your thoughts on these big stories that we'll be looking at, from Niger State, the disaster situation, to Benue, the security challenge, and of course, to the softer side of things and other issues that you may be interested in this morning? We're very, very keen on what you have to say. So start texting us already. We will be waiting to take your thoughts. But when we return from this break, it will be time to look at what the front pages are saying. So stay with us on your Perfect Morning Starter. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's bring in our guest, Mr. Daya Kintobe, to help us bring us up to speed as to insights on some of the reports we're hearing or seeing on the national dailies. Mr. Kintobe, thank you so much for coming on the program. Let's get started with the Guardian newspaper. This is how the Guardian newspaper leads. Publish or perish. 97% of public universities default in online visibility, transparency order. 97% of public universities default in online visibility and transparency order. So this is a situation. I remember one course, I was trying to remember the course we did, but it's a situation that it's a two-edged sword when it comes to some of these things that universities are talking about. So what's your take?
The Minister for Education actually asked these universities to publish their financials, primarily because a report came out from an international agency that said Nigerian universities' finances are the most shrouded in secrecy across the entire world. That basically nobody knows how much they earn, how much they get allocation, how much international grants and funding they get, and that how they spend the money. And part of it is based on the issue of the standard of education, because a lot of it is put at the foot of we don't have adequate funding. And international agencies are saying you actually get quite a bit of money. So how do you spend it? You should let the world know how you spend it, so that if you're not getting enough, it's justifiable to advocate for more. And if you're getting too much, then we need to know exactly what you're doing with it. So the Minister for Education asked them to publish their financials on their websites, and apparently only about 30-something% have complied up to date, which is the issue. Is it that they've got something to hide? Is it that they've actually been earning a whole lot more, especially in terms of grants and international funding, things that are not public knowledge? A lot of it is hidden, and we don't know what the universities do with it. All we hear is that, oh, we don't get enough allocation from Abuja. But there's a lot of private money that's going into universities, even federal universities and state universities. So there's a push suddenly that let us know how much you get and how you spend it, so that we can now begin to understand where the problem in terms of the quality of educational inputs is coming from.
So what do you think is going to be the reprimand in that sense for not publishing?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to lose their job over it, unfortunately. But I think they should actually have their feet held to the fire, because it does make sense. We should know, as a public, we have a right to know, especially with regards to government-funded universities. Private universities can do whatever they want, but public universities who get allocation from government, it's our money at the end of the day. We should know how they're spending it and make sure that there's accountability and they're spending it properly to do all the right things in terms of the educational sector.
Fantastic.
Because that's the least you expect.
Yes.
From our ivory towers. They're meant to set the standard.
Yes.
In fact, they should be doing 110%.
Absolutely.
In the first place, so everybody can look at them and say, well, these are the people that we want to emulate. But it's worth talking about and, of course, harping on. But let's take a look at the front page of the New Telegraph this morning, and this is heavy on politics. The New Telegraph leads with something from the FCT minister and former governor of Rivers State. Mr. Akintobi, here's what you have on the front page. Nobody can uproot me from PDP. I'll lead Tinubu to victory in 2027. What figure of speech is that?
Well, you could call it hyperbole. You could call it a metaphor. You could call it... I really don't know, but one thing it is that it was delivered with swagger and with absolute confidence. He didn't say it with any fear at all. And you look at it and you ask yourself, well, what kind of politics are we playing here? Because essentially, in any sane climb, this would be anti-party activity. You can't be in one party and be working assiduously. I mean, it's not unheard of to have a government that brings in people from opposition parties to work within their cabinet, essentially to give them kind of a balanced viewpoint in terms of policy. But even if I'm invited to participate in a government from a party that I don't belong, I won't actively be working politically for that party to the detriment of my own party's interests. Well, Governor Wike has done it. He's done it blatantly. He's done it without fear, and he continues to do it. And his party seems hamstrung at being able to call him to order. Apparently, this whole thing started from, I think, the 2015 elections, 2019, when Atiku Abubakar lost the election, went off and disappeared into the twilight zone, and Wike was the one who held the party together and did a lot of capacity building, a lot of funding for the party. And at that time, he basically built the foundation of the PDP as it is today. So he's suddenly become an elephant in a china shop, a raging bull in a china shop. And he says that he can't be removed from the party and nobody can stop him from working for the APC. Granted, he's contributing tremendously in the FCT. He's doing a lot of unprecedented things, and there's a lot of improvement in a lot of the FCT. So we applaud his administrative prowess in terms of what he's achieving as a minister. But from a political standpoint, I think he's cutting off his nose to spite his face, and I'm not sure that the party bigwigs shouldn't stand up to him.
I think it's one of the most ridiculous, ludicrous statements I've ever heard, and it seems to be a new normal in that sense. What do you think they can fire him from the party? Because the danger that we're looking at here, the danger is to the effect that if this becomes a trend, then the entire party system as an institution will collapse, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, because there's something called loyalty to the party. When you join the party, you get a party card, you become a party member, you swear basically an oath to that party. And your loyalty is supposed to be to that party and that party alone. Because remember, parties are competitors. Unfortunately, we haven't matured our democracy to a point where we coalesce around an ideology. Are we conservatives? Are we liberals? Are we progressives? What are we? And it is those ideals that hold us together. We are loyal to the ideals that hold us together. So it's not possible for you to be loyal to conservatism and then go and be advocating liberalism in the opposing camp. It makes nonsense of the whole notion of democracy, which is what you're saying, is that it's not possible, because these are countervailing positions. They're diametrically opposed. You can't be in one and be fraternizing in another. It makes nonsense of the concept of democracy. So I wish the PDP bigwigs, the elders, the BOT, the NEC would be able to stand up and look this man in the face and say, look, you should either be here or here. You can't be in both. It doesn't work. But because, like I say, he's built structures over the years, so he's become so powerful that everybody in the party is loyal to him. The moment he says something, they were trying to put together a meeting of the NEC a couple of weeks ago. He stood up against it. The meeting didn't hold. So
it actually held.
It held,
yes.
Okay. He wanted it to hold, the opposition didn't want it to
But
hold.
did the decisions hold water?
They shifted the decision to June the 30th.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that whatever's left of the PDP power structure, which at the moment is in such disarray that you can't really say that this party will rise out of the embers because it's so fractionalized and there's so much infighting, and he's sitting there like a phoenix in the middle of all these ashes and he's totally untouched, you know. So I'm not sure that the political or spiritual will exists among
Strong words
I've never said that.
that you have for the PDP there. Maybe they have to go spiritual at this rate.
Well, my view is that they should just disintegrate completely, start back again, maybe give themselves a new name and come back
With a coalition.
Well, at that interaction,
Maybe firing Wike will be the beginning as well.
The former governor had quite a lot to say, even with more braggadocio to his predecessor in office and to the leader of the party in Lagos. Well, we wonder what will become of the PDP, but we already have the ideas of the picture come 2027. But take a look at Blueprint newspaper. It pretty much, you know, reflects on that outing with pressmen as well. But, you know, sometimes we're always scrounging for good news to tell from the papers. And there is something cheery to note above the nameplate of Blueprint. FG unveils Medipol to reduce cost of drugs, boost local production. But the components, the major component of this policy is bulk purchasing. One would have thought that there would also be a local content aspect of it. But either way, what are your reflections on this for the health sector and also for the pharmaceutical sector?
One of the fallouts of COVID, and of course the economy in general, has been the fact that healthcare has become prohibitively expensive. Whether you look at the pharmaceutical aspect of it, the surgical aspect, the hospital aspect, it's become highly unaffordable. Medicines, you know, paracetamol, your simple, basic healthcare and fitness and lifestyle stuff have become unaffordable for the common man. And part of the reason of that is because most of it is imported, which is what you're talking about, local content. A lot of the stuff we get in Nigeria for healthcare comes from India, comes from China, some of it comes from Turkey recently. In the past it used to be more of Europe, but it's changed now based on geopolitical, geoeconomic realities. So this is cheery news that the federal government is taking steps to try and bring down the cost of healthcare intervention, especially at the pharmaceutical level, because people barely can even go to doctors anymore. What happens now is that you see the chemists and the pharmacists being patronized a lot more by the average working Nigerian because they can't afford to go to a doctor. So the first level of intervention nowadays is the chemists and the pharmacies. So whatever it'll take, and this idea of bulk purchasing is good, but as you said, it would have been better if they're taking it a step further to empower greater local production. We do have some pharmaceuticals that do local production, but it's an infinitesimal blip on the radar screen in terms of what they actually produce here. Most of it is imported and they're licensed to bring it in. You see produced in so, but marketed by, and then the local company. But that doesn't really help our situation because at the end of the day, we're still paying foreign exchange to bring it. It's still subject to the vagaries of the exchange rate, which makes it prohibitively expensive. So, but this is a good first step, and we hope that they sustain it and even expand on it in such a way that healthcare costs will continue to reduce.
You even have a case where people approach the pharmacists now and says, I'm feeling this way, what kind of medication do I use? So basically, they're cutting the doctors out. The doctor is meant to, consult and tell you, okay, this is what you use, go to the pharmacist to get it. So it's a very important point you raised there, and it's primarily because of the cost of healthcare. We can take the Vanguard newspaper now. The Vanguard newspaper leads with education. And I want us to pitch our tent here for a bit, because this is quite vital. You see, stakeholders disagree with WAEC NECO on use of CBT. But let me take the explainers. Facilities grossly inadequate. That's coming from NAPTEN, NANS, CONUA, ASU. So NANS students. CONUA is also meant to be like university. It's meant to be like a twin of ASU in that sense. And then, of course, there's ASU. And you see experts saying it will badly affect students' writing skills. It's going to kill practicals. That's coming from a representative. And you see an education advocate saying our mode of examinations unadaptable to CBT. But the Ministry of Education has the last say, at least on the front page, saying it'll reduce exam malpractice. So I laid these comments before you. What is your take?
Well, my initial reaction is that our writing skills have eroded anyway. Social media has killed our ability to effectively communicate through the written word. I mean, you see people try to put together a coherent paragraph or sentence and you're horrified because the other day I tried to sign a check and I looked, I didn't recognize my own handwriting. I'm not even talking about the intellectual aspect of trying to cobble together a coherent paragraph. But
like when last did you actually...
Even just your calligraphy is gone because when was the last time you did? So realistically, technology exists to make life easier. It exists to make it more secure. It exists. So there's got to be a way to harness technology in a way that will address the shortcomings that the stakeholders are concerned about. I see computer-based testing as a positive. It's in keeping with global best practices. It saves time. It reduces intervention, because imagine in the old days when we used to write, teachers would have to sit and read all that and grade all that, and many times you'd even have problems with their marking scheme, and they read my stuff wrong. They're human, they make mistakes as well. But with the computer, errors are reduced. Malpractice is virtually eliminated. That's the truth, because what you put into the computer is what comes out of it, and as a result, they're able to plug. I mean, I read the other day that yesterday that WAEC English was leaked before the exam came out, and they said they transported the papers by road. In this day and age of technology, 2025, we're still transporting exam papers by road across the country, and then they outsource the printing to an outside printer, who of course has workers, who have relatives, who have children, who are taking the exam. Might even be writing the exam themselves. So there are too many possibilities for corruption to take root in the manual old system. So the introduction of technology plugs a lot of these loopholes. And I think that if we're concerned about writing skills, yes, CBT, you're choosing multiple choice. They give you a thing, is it A, B, C, or D? So you're probably doing process of elimination even if you don't know the correct answer. So what does that do to our ability for critical thinking? Our ability to articulate a coherent thought from the beginning with an introduction, an argument, and a conclusion. I would say that tests in general, examinations in general, don't necessarily appraise your cognitive and intellectual skills. It's just a snapshot at a point in time of a very narrow aspect of what you've learned.
But if that is the case, haven't we missed the mark? Hasn't the purpose of education been defeated if we can't rely on the outcomes as a true test of the students' cognitive abilities?
No, what I'm saying is that it takes more than just an exam. That's why you see that the exam, the almighty final that we all used to be afraid of back in the school days, is just a very small, significant insignificant component of your overall score. At the end of the day, class participation, your project, your various aspects combine to make your total score. And what that is doing is examining the fact that you are well-rounded in all that you have learned. And not that, because you can cram for an almighty final, it doesn't mean you know anything. You can study overnight, burn the night candle, eat cola nut, drink coffee, in the morning go and regurgitate everything you crammed. And as soon as you've regurgitated it on paper, you've forgotten it the next day. How has that helped your education? So examinations are very limited in evaluating your cognitive and intellectual ability. So I don't necessarily think that CBT is a drawback. I think that it simplifies a necessary aspect of the educational process to determine a portion of what you have learned over time.
All right, fantastic. I wish we can continue with the conversation. And again, you've raised a very vital point. That's the ability, the scholarly or scholarship of people in terms of intellectual rigor. I'm always concerned about that. In fact, the other day I had to tweet, I say, can we just slow down on technology for a moment? Because it feels like technology may be helping us to have our bath if it's not happening already. Because when you see what's going on in China, it's almost scary. Okay, what else is left for human beings to do for themselves if this is how far we're going? And they know we are consumers of everything, literally. So maybe it's to find a balance and help us out at the end of the day. But quite an interesting perspective you brought to this conversation. As far as the dailies are concerned, Mr. Dayakintobi, we'll always have you right here. Public Affairs Analyst joining us on the program. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the very first part of our conversation. It's a packed show, and we'll explore all of the conversations right here on the program. Join us again.
Welcome back, and it's time now to begin our conversations. And as we start off, we'll be taking a look at the security challenge in Benue State. What exactly is happening as we continue to count the death toll? Why are communities in certain parts of Benue vulnerable to attacks continually, despite the outcry from members of the community and the public in general? So let's have this conversation from somebody who should know particularly about what's happening in the latest community affected. So joining us on the program this morning is Honorable Abu Umoru, member representing Akpa in the Benue House of Assembly, where attacks were recorded just days ago. He joins us virtually from Makodi. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Umoru. And so first of all, let's get an update about the death toll and those affected. We heard the governor saying yesterday that he just came out from meeting with the security agencies, and the death toll counting so far is somewhere around 23, 27. But we're also hearing from other platforms that the death toll could be higher, maybe double the amount, the number that has been attributed. What exactly is the situation? And tell us also about those affected and the current state of things in Akpa constituency in Benue State.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Channel. Good morning, Benue State. And good morning, Akpa State constituency, where I come from. And I thank Channel for this opportunity given to me this morning to answer some questions or to explain what is going on in my constituency.
Oh, we seem to have network challenges through to Honorable Umoru. We'll try to fix that and continue with the conversations. But we know that we must keep our eyes on Benue and continue to ask critical questions of authorities, both at the state and at the national level. We've had concerns not just from Akpa, but in other communities in Benue State in recent times. And some of the reports coming through suggest that, operatives only arrive, to count the death toll. So what exactly is the situation of security as far as that is concerned? We have Honorable Umoru back now. Honorable Umoru, please go ahead with your thoughts.
Yes. The security situation in Benue State is alarming. The Ankali in Ediku ward, which is my immediate council ward, were attacked on Sunday. And as I can tell you, there is nobody presently in that community because they ran away for their life. Over 11 persons were buried and one is still missing. And about 5 of them are critically ill and receiving treatment in the hospital. And as I can tell you, this is not the first time my local government or my constituency has been attacked. There have been pockets of killing since March this year, and even last year as well. And we don't know where this thing is coming from. As we speak, our people are dominantly farmers. No one can go to farm in my village or in every community in about 6 council wards in Apa local government. They cannot go to farm. Even the yam they planted about 500 meters from their village, the planting herdsmen goes there, uproot this and put in their sacks and took it to wherever they want to do. People cannot go to farm, they cannot plant anything, so we are just helpless.
Honorable Moro, is the death toll 33 or 43? Let's be clear on that.
Well, I'm speaking on my own local government. I was on ground yesterday. As early as 7:30 a.m. I was in my local government. And the people that were buried is 11 and 1 missing. And 7 are critically ill receiving treatment in various hospitals in the council, and some are taken to Odupo Teaching Hospital.
Now, we'll get more on that later on, but we heard the governor saying yesterday that security operatives have been directed to relocate to those areas. But the real questions, because there have been attacks in other parts of Benue. In March, there were attacks in Kwande local government area, and we can mention others since the beginning of the year in Benue State. So the question is, what happened to intelligence? What happened to the deployment of security operatives to be permanently stationed in these areas? Honorable Moro.
Well, the security is always arriving the scene when what the headers have done, and which has no any impact on our people any longer. Because when we cry for help, nobody is there. I can tell you, we have some army staying in some community who are not far from this place that this attack happened on Sunday, and they were not there. It took them over 2 hours after the people that perpetrated the act has left the community. So when they arrive, there is nothing they will come to do. They have done what they want to do, and they have left the community. And this is not the first time. It happened in Akpete, in Apa local government. About 6 persons were lost. Kidnapping on the farm, on the road, raping of our mothers and our sisters is ongoing every day as I speak to you. So we are helpless. And this is a state that will have anti-grazing law, anti-open grazing law. And we don't know what is happening. I can tell you, my community is helpless. My constituency is helpless. Every now and then you receive a call from them. What are you doing? What are you doing to protect them? Mine is to make law, and the executive is to implement. I'm coming to the House of Assembly for the second term, and when I came, we have this law and the open grazing law, which it has not been enforced. I think is one of our problems. The law, the executive have to completely enforce this law.
Coincidentally, Honorable, you're a member of the State House of Assembly. So if government in that sense, because you're also government, because an arm of government is saying that they are helpless, I'm wondering what the persons in our power will be saying in this sense. So when you say you're helpless, what exactly do you mean? Is it that there is no resolution to insist? Because there's a legislation, there's an act, I guess, passed by the House of Assembly, maybe assented to by a governor, either this governor or his predecessor. So what exactly is the reason or the inability here to be able to enforce a law that, in your view, could help curb some of these attacks?
I can't hear you well, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I'm saying you're a member of the State House of Assembly. That bill is not a bill anymore, it's an act of law in the State House in the Benue State. So when you say you are helpless, what exactly do you mean by you're helpless as somebody in government? Is it that you cannot, the House of Assembly cannot insist that the governor has to implement the anti-grazing law if that's what will at least bring some level of succor?
Yes, as a House of Assembly member, the law has been passed. It's for executive to implement the law. I have no power to implement the law. And the law, this law, before we resume as an Assembly member, it received the attention of the public hearing, and it was completely agreed by the Benue indigents that anti-open grazing law must stay. So it's for the state government and the executive to make sure that this law is enforced. Because the last time on this your program, I heard the governor of Nasarawa State saying that some of this law, the condition of the law has been relaxed. And that is why, I believe that is why this planning has taken over the whole community. But I don't know when the House of Assembly has relaxed any condition in this law as we speak.
Honorable, my question again, I'm going to rephrase it. So it's simple. The Constitution says in Section 14 that the most primary responsibility of any government is to ensure the security and safety of lives and property, just paraphrasing. And if a law has been passed by the State Assembly, and there's a governor seated, quote and unquote, who is unable to protect his own people because of the resurgence of attacks, whether in collaboration with the federal government, inability to do that, what should the State House of Assembly do to that governor?
Well, I think as the crisis continue, we have to go back to the drawing board as an Assembly member and have a rethink of what to do. Because it's not happening to only my constituency as APA, it's all over the state. In Kwande, in Logo, in Kasinala, in Makodi, in Otupo. As I speak to you, very few local governments that have not have these security challenges. So we definitely have to go to drawing board and ask ourselves, what next? And to call our people together and seek their opinion as well.
Because, we wonder how long that will last, because while you're thinking about it, your people are still vulnerable to attacks, and perhaps many more, we hope not, may, be sacrificed during that time. But give us a vivid picture about security in Benue State amid this security challenge. The governor inaugurated the Benue Civil Protection Guard last year. At other times, he has presented gadgets, motorcycles, and other forms of gadgets to the civil protection guards in Benue State. Why are these, security outfits in collaboration with the police unable to protect communities in Benue State? What do police stations look like in proximity to these states that are constantly vulnerable to attacks?
Well, the governor have a civil protection guard inaugurated last year, equipped them with the necessary equipment, and he's trying his best, but I think he needs to say that this problem is alarming and is overwhelming him. Yesterday, he mobilized the commissioner of police, the DG, the director of SSS, and all security personnel. They were there. In fact, I had a contact with the one-on-one with the commandant of Operation White Stroke, which is one arm of soldier here in Benue, and who graciously even mobilized some troops to go there. But however, they are responding to or respond to this distress is not encouraging. Why are you going when the people who call to you that this place is attacked, this place is under attack? It took you time. Is it that there is no mobility, or is it that there is no anybody to go? Is it when the whole thing that the people have been killed that you go there to save who? When you go to my place yesterday, my sister, I was ashamed of myself. But what would I have to do? The governor is aware of this. He picked my call the very day this thing happened on Sunday, and I told him this is what is happening in my place. He asked me that I should send the name of the community and also the coordinates, which I did immediately.
All right, Honorable, so let's talk about, I'm wondering what makes these places or these areas quite vulnerable. So maybe you describe the landmass or the area for us. Is it that it's part of one of those, is it ungovernable spaces, ungoverned spaces if you will, or is there no police station? What exactly is needed urgently in that sense to be able to help? Because it's almost worrying and tiring, which is why I asked you the first question I asked. We've had conversations on Benue for years now, and I'm worried that we may invite another House of Assembly member, a local government chairman, a member of the cabinet in government, or even the governor himself, to talk about another set of deaths in the coming weeks or months. These are people's lives. I think it's time for us to be serious with people's lives. The value of human life is abysmally low in our country. So what exactly has to be done to check this?
I think the government need to still sit up. What I mean by sit up, the security agency need to be well funded with a modern gadget. And also they should stand up and react or respond to a distress call when the need arises. If not, me sitting here, there will be nothing like my community, there will be nothing like my village any longer. The children cannot go to school, they cannot do anything. So the problem is alarming in Benue State. It's not only Apa local government. Even for me to leave Otupo to go to my local government, which is about 37 kilometers or 40 kilometers thereabout, I dare not apply that road in the night for fear of kidnapping, for fear of killing. Imagine when I was going around for campaign, I go around without security. Now, I finish the campaign, I cannot go home without security. Is that what I want to represent my people for?
I think we should
and these
try
people are moving around with AK-47. People have a day gun. And I don't know why that the security personnel cannot apprehend person with AK-47. Using it to terrorize community every day, every night is not too healthy for this country.
From what you describe, sounds like there's a conspiracy against your people and others. I know Gwe West was also affected. There were killings in Grey West as well, and in Akbar. So speak to us about the thinking of the people. And I know, as you said, the people have tried as much as they can to protect themselves, but clearly the enemy has superior firepower. So what are you thinking in terms of, do you think this is a conspiracy to push your people away, to grab their lands? What exactly are the options you're considering on the table now?
The option that I consider on this table, to make sure that our people who are dominantly farmer to return back to their ancestral home, federal government or the state government should look for a ranching land for them so that they do ranching, which is which other country is practicing. Not this one that they are wondering about, spoiling other people's means of livelihood. They cannot go to farm. So how long are we going to be under this menace? How long? And the primary aim of any government is to protect life and property of the citizen. But now the property cannot be protected. Even the life cannot be protected. You are talking about property. Because you need to be alive before you have your property. First of all, let them even protect the life first before the property as it is. Nobody is in any community. So how the property, you are protecting the property for who?
So there are those who are calling for a state of emergency in some of these areas in Benue State because of the insecurity, the killings we've seen time and again, because they suspect or fear that there will be some more killings in the nearest future. Is that something you support, a state of emergency as well? Just basically root out these attackers, as you call them. Is that something you'll be supporting if you would end insecurity or at least reduce it to the barest minimum?
If the state of emergency is the option, why can't they not send their troop now? Why state of emergency? Send the troop now to stop the killing. Is it the state of the emergency that will be the solution? Is it not security that will come and take over for the state of emergency? So let us security come now and do the work they want to do. I don't think it's the state of emergency that is the problem. If you know that the state of emergency is coming in the security to deploy more security to the state, why not deploy the more security to the state now? So I don't understand. I don't think the state of emergency should be the option. It's deployment of more troops to the state that will be the option for now.
But Honorable Moro, there's responsibility at every level, even at your own state assembly level as well. So if the governor has not summoned enough courage to demand more security, you know, in the immediate term rather than the long term from the federal government, what should the state assembly be doing? As we've asked earlier, how much time do the people of Benue have to wait for the state assembly to re-strategize and demand accountability from the executive?
Well, I think, like that is what I said in the first instance, that we need to go back to the drawing board. This issue is an issue that the state governor should look up beyond the political party. He should look up to the people of Benue to call a critical stakeholder meeting and let them take a decision and ask questions. It's not for one to sit at his comfort of his own and say we're on top of the situation, we're on top of the situation every day. This time is the time that all Benue sons and daughters, irrespective of the political party or affiliation, to come together, that otherwise the Benue will be taken over by this armed bandits. And I don't think that they are Fulani headsmen any longer. It's gone beyond that. If they are using a cow to perpetrate this act by using it as a cover, then the security agencies should deal decisively with them.
Honorable Moro, how long do Benue people have to wait for the State Assembly to demand accountability from Governor Alia to protect the people of Benue State, by extension also asking questions of the federal government? How long?
We have been asking these questions. Motion upon motion has been moved, and that is why we are on recess now before this ugly incident took place in Gwe West and my own constituency Apa on Sunday. And I believe I returned back from the village yesterday night. And this morning after this your interview, I'm going straight to meet the speaker.
All right.
We should call all for recess. And then, because I cannot sit alone to take a decision on behalf of the 32 members.
All right, Honorable, let's be very clear. This sounds to me, and perhaps to everyone watching, like ineffective oversight on the executive, because you have the knife and you have the yam in your hands to insist on how your people should be protected. So let's get back to the people. Isn't it time for the people to protect themselves? Would you want a situation where people will now be able to maybe bear arms? Because we keep saying, cannot be in my sleep and somebody comes to kill me. That, if I can help myself, that's not going to happen. But there's a law in Nigeria that as to who can bear and not bear arms. Isn't it time the legislation should begin to push for some level of self-protection? People cannot just be sleeping and they are slaughtered in their sleep. Don't you think so?
I totally agree with you, because the situation is very alarming, that even me, I cannot go to my community, to my constituency to sleep. Then I should get armed for myself. Before you kill me, if I can kill you, I'll kill you. I totally agree with you, because at this point, there is nothing anybody can do. With a day gun in your hand, and these people come with a certificated gun. And in 3 days ago, in Ikobi, which was one of the council ward in my place, 2 soldiers were murdered and their guns were being carted away by these Fulani men. It's not a lie. About 2 years ago, 2 soldiers were killed in my own community of Apa when they came to rescue, to make sure that our community will not be attacked. They were being murdered. We're saying that the military authority is not aware of this. They are aware.
So, Honorable Moro, are you saying that these attackers are more superiorly armed than the security agents, even the army?
The army should ask themselves. I'm not the one to answer that question. You understand? If they say they are coming to grazing, and then they are killing, and they are killing army, they are killing the communities, they are killing everybody, then the military will answer that question. I'm not in position to answer that question. Whether they have more sophisticated weapon than the military. They are the one to answer that question. Because when you ask them, they say they are deployed there not to shoot anybody. They are bring there to protect life and property. Your people, your army is being killed. You are still there saying you are protecting property. You are here to bring peace. Where is the peace?
All right, Honorable Moro. A lot is expected from all elected representatives from Benue State as far as the security challenge is concerned, either the executive or the State Assembly. So we're going to be bringing you back expectedly, particularly to follow up on your resolve to push for a legislation on the people to protect, for the people to protect themselves. But we must anchor the conversation at this point with hopes that when we come back here, we'll be reporting good news from Benue rather than attacks. We must hope against hope. We've been talking with Honorable...
Hold on. To speak to me now, there is shooting going on at one of my community. It's called Odubo. Right now, Fulani herdsmen, they are there uprooting the yam, the seed yam they have planted. As I sit here talking to you, I received that call. And the protest is going on right now in Apa local government over this killing and displace of our people from the ancestral home. As I speak to you now, gunshot is going on in Odugbo, 2 kilometers away from Opa, which is my community.
So
Wow.
the security agencies should take this as a tip and ensure that they respond to that attack. And this is an honorable representing the people giving the update now. So we're calling on security agencies to respond swiftly to that. Thank you very much for that heads up, Honorable.
And that is very, very distressing indeed. We hope that those who are perpetrating this particular attack in Odugbo, in Akpa, local government area of Benue State, are arrested because the intelligence has just come through. We must thank you very much, Honorable Abu Umoru, member representing Akpa in the Benue State House of Assembly. He joined us virtually from Makurdi. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Well, from here, we'll be taking the big stories, front pages from the online space. And we're rather spoiled for choice this morning, but we'll be starting with that trending comment, quite a number from the interaction of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory with pressmen yesterday. Okay, we're told that that is not quite ready at this point in time. Let's go to, okay, we have that ready now. So let's take that and then we'll come back and take your comments.
You are talking about Rotimi Amechi?
Yes, sir.
And you have been specific. I don't know how a man will choose his 60th birthday to tell lies. It's unfortunate. Of all time, it's your 60th birthday that people are celebrating you. You used to tell lies to Niger. You are hungry. Let us tell ourselves this. He was Speaker 1999 to 2007. Yeah. And if anybody knows, he was the most pampered Speaker. Then he was reading law in London as a Speaker 1999 to 2007. He became a governor 2007 to 2015. He was still reading law in London. 8 years as Speaker of Rivers State House Assembly. 8 years as Governor of Rivers. You never talked about hunger. You became a minister from 2015 to 2023. 8 years, super minister, transport, where you were borrowing money for exit bag, loans. You didn't talk about hunger. 2 years you have left office. I'm in coalition because I'm hungry. You're only hungry of power. And that shows failure on his part. How do you look at it? How do you insult Nigerians? How do you trivialize the issue of hunger or poverty?
Well, an interesting perspective from Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, is an interesting individual. Love him or hate him, he has an interesting perspective to things. But guys, what I see is all of them being politicians. At the end of the day, whether it's Nyesom Wike or the president or Rotimi Amechi, they're all politicians. So don't be confused or swayed. All these are political rhetorics. So we have to focus on the substance. You know, him being cheeky there, talking about Rotimi Amechi being hungry for power. They are all hungry for power. If he wasn't hungry for power, the issue in River State, for instance, may not have been, because he wants to manage the structure. He put these people in power with the resources, his or the state, whichever you want to look at it. And as far as politics is concerned, politicians are concerned, they want to be relevant. And so it's also the interest in power in that sense that is causing the upset in River State. So he's also a dramatic person in River State. So when you talk about people being hungry for power, and Nyesom Wike and Mechi, all of them are all hungry for power. If not, they would not be there. But what is important to us as a people is for the substance of the matter. Is there poverty in the land? Yes, there's poverty. The government is explaining to the effect that this poverty, they understand why it's there because of the twin policy. And people are saying 2 years down the line, when is this going to be over, or some level of reprieve? I think that's, for me, guys, what I want to focus on. Because whatever is said there, they're all guilty. The president, Rotimi Amechi, Wike, all hungry for power, fact for fact. And they'll keep trying to stay in power at the end of the day. So that's a non-issue. But the pain as it affects the people is what is primary to all of us. Whether the opposition is cashing in on that pain is a different kettle of fish. But lived-in reality of human beings that are citizens of Nigeria is biting hard. And that's, for me, what I want to focus on as far as all that statement is concerned.
Absolutely. And I think we've seen a trend, particularly for the former governor and former minister. I recall last year, I think it was in October, when he was saying that he couldn't afford diesel again. Right. And I know a lot of people came for him saying, well, this doesn't add up. First, super minister. But lest we forget, I know they also say governor. Exactly. I know they say ministers are equal in the cabinet. We say that just to make everybody feel good. But when you look at the budget that the ministers handle, then you begin to understand why some people are called super ministers, right? So if you have a minister who works and you know what goes on in that ministry in terms of the constructions, the loans and all of that, you understand why it's called a super minister. Then governor of oil-rich, former governor of oil-rich River State, to have said that, so that caused quite a stir last year. And this year, yet again, he's saying he's hungry. So I think there's been that consistent trend. Is he trying to pass a message beyond that? Because we know that he's not hungry. Certainly. I mean, take a look at how much...
Thank you for saying that.
No, of course. I mean,
how
much did it cost to rent the hall that was used for that event? In Abuja, it cost millions of naira. So a hungry person wouldn't rent that hall. Even if they gave him the money, if you're a hungry person and someone is giving you 10 million to rent a hall, you say, I don't need to rent a hall. Give me the 10 million naira cash. We'll do Zoom. For that book launch. So perhaps he's trying to pass another message. On the one hand, is it trying to solidarize with other Nigerians and say, well, I feel your pain, I feel the hunger, so I am hungry like you, even though I am not hungry in that sense. So there are lots of layers to peel off this one. But clearly, as Jeffrey has said, politicians are hungry for one thing mostly. It is power influence.
I think
steadily.
I like Jeffrey here. Jeffrey has defined, you know, the heart of the conversation, which is Minister Nyesom Wike's honesty, and, you know, also called him out for also being hungry for power. If he were not, how do you define the situation in River State? And we all know that he has clearly identified himself as the protagonist, or if you like, antagonist in that situation. He's the one calling the shots. He's the one giving the conditions for peace in River State. And, you know, not just River State. If he's not hungry for power as well, how has he called the shots or held the PDP by the jugular since the 2023 elections? So it just pretty much tells us that, you know, our politicking is not a politics of ideas, but a politics of power grab, a politics that protects the bourgeoisie in the society, a politics of snatch it first and then let the opposing party go and cry in the courts later on. People are dying in Niger State. There is no superior argument from the politicians about the environmental challenge. There is education crisis. There's no superior argument about to improve the lot of students and pupils in school, no superior ideas from the electorate. So it just speaks to the need for the people to be more informed and to also be a part of the process. We're looking forward to reading from you on these as well, but we'll move on to another. And this time around, we're going to Niger State, of course, a consequence of politicking, whether you like it or not. Is it good or bad politicking? But what exactly is happening there? Coyote, you have it.
Oh, yes. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, paid a visit to Niger State in the aftermath of the flooding the Mokwa flooding. We understand that the death tolls nearing 200 or even more than that as at this moment. And Mr. Peter Obi characteristically visited with some members and leaders in his party, and it was good to see him, of course, condoling the people and also making a donation yesterday in Niger State. So there you have it, the presidential candidate of Labour Party visiting yet again. So perhaps it's a call to other Nigerians to support. He donated 20 million naira, I should say, and the Niger State government has also put out a tweet and put out account number trying to raise funds for the humanitarian situation, particularly for the people affected. Again, I know there are different sides to this argument. Isn't the government able to adequately cater to these needs? But in situations such as this one, all of the help you can get is certainly welcome, right? I know the federal government had said, let's give, is it 6,000 or 60,000 bags of rice? The Primary Healthcare Development Agency set up at these centers. But those who are in need are still saying, well, we don't have all of the help, at least the basic that we need. So it's good to see Mr. Peter Obi paying a visit to Niger State. I know that a lot of people have also read political meanings to it, but I think this is something he's done consistently in other parts of the country. Is it Plateau? I know there was some controversy when he wanted to visit Benue at some point, but hey, it's a call to action for other Nigerians as well. And to the government also, we should not wait for events like this to happen. We can plan ahead, better disaster management, you know, early warning systems, and to the people as well, guys.
And we have the first user. Jeffrey, you have the first.
No, you can go ahead, Bukola.
There's Mr. Bishop who's speaking this morning, and he's, well, if you like, he's through projecting what would happen under a different leadership. And he says to Mr. B, under your leadership, all this mess up and down would be no more. That's coming from Mr. Bishop. Kaide, you have the next one.
Just to be clear, do you mean that there will be no natural disasters if you were president? Do you mean that there will be better preparedness in that sense? Again, there's the federal and the state layers. So it's important to properly contextualize these things. Yes, he may have a direct line to Providence, you know, to Mother Earth, saying, well, disaster shouldn't happen during my time. Maybe he does. But it's important to also know that other people have responsibilities. The governors, subnationals, lawmakers, and all of that, to ensure that some of these things are really dealt with. The next user, Maurice Moye, saying, I sincerely appreciate your unwavering dedication to the people of Nigeria. Your efforts exemplify a profound commitment to service, he says.
All right, this is coming from Joe Jeffs. A true leader will have empathy and compassion for his people. Peter Obi, be ready to drive Nigerians to the awaited Nigeria that is possible. This is already campaigning, right? The decision-making balls must end at your table. Decide the future of Nigeria. We appreciate your generosity and effort. So as Kayode said, whether this is politically motivated or it's just is humanity, all are welcome. But we cannot take away the political element as well, because this is all part of the political PR to keep visibility as far as this is concerned. And he's done quite a bit in staying visible in the eyes and the mind of people, either by his pronouncement or some of these visits. So it's a twin humanitarian effort as well as a political PR, in my view. Okay, guys, where do we go from here?
We have emails. Do we have time to take the emails?
Well, we'll get to them.
Yeah.
But let's take a quick break now. When we return, there's more for you. Stay with us.
We're still keeping tab on what's happening in Niger State. The death toll keeps rising every other day, and perhaps our producer will help us put out some more like it's a dashboard snapshot of the casualty record and what effort is being done as far as this is concerned in Niger State, coming in from NEMA. But we're being joined in the program by the Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management in Niger State, Mr. Ahmed Baba Suleiman. Mr. Suleiman, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. You are welcome. Thank you very much.
We saw the snapshots. I'm trying to get to it as soon as possible. Okay, I think I have it here. Of some of the records we have from NEMA as to the level of casualty. So I'm just going to run through a few and maybe ask for what the latest update is from where you sit. We understand the casualty is now about 165, comprising of 98 persons are missing, over 3,000 persons affected, over 1,500 persons displaced. Infrastructure ranges from buildings to roads to bridges and all sorts, and then some of the recovery and the response effort. So what is the latest update you have for us as far as this incident is concerned? We started our conversation yesterday with the chairman of SEMA in the state.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. You know, the numbers, nobody can tell you the number of casualty in Niger State right now, because up to now, the cops, we're still looking for them, and the numbers of them, when we tell you this is the actual number, by now we have more than 200 numbers of casualty or cops. But we are still looking for more, because we were told by the Makwa local government that they still discovering cops up to now. So we are trying to wait for them and know the actual number of cops before giving you this is the figures. But now, sincerely speaking, we cannot ascertain.
All right, so tell us exactly, as far as the state is concerned, you are in charge of, I call humanitarian ministry, more like the damage control ministry, when things have happened, whether it's through natural disaster or poor governance in that sense. You are the receiving end of making sure there's mitigation. So walk us through some of the efforts of your ministry and the government by extension to help the people that have been affected so far by this disaster.
Yeah, it's not poor government at all. It's not a poor government at all. It's a natural disaster. And by now we can tell, as I told you, we cannot actually give the figures because the work is ongoing. But when I can estimate the number, it will be, by now it's more than 200 to 300. That is why I told you I will not give you the actual number of it. But the disaster is a natural disaster, not about the poor government. But as I'm telling you right now, the Niger State government put things in place, and there are a lot of contribution from various agencies and ministries, including what the Niger State have done. I think by now we have to appreciate the effort of the Niger State government, and including our ministers, both the Zone C, the Zone A, and the Zone B ministers. They contributed their own. Even Mr. Obi came yesterday, we were together. So he also donated the sum of 20 million naira. So at least by now there are a lot of damages. The damages on ground now, nobody can, you cannot get it right on media or any other social way. But when you go there, you see it by yourself. There are a lot of damages, loss of life, loss of properties, and so many things there.
So you talked about the damages, some of the efforts being done. I would like to hear exactly. You mentioned 20 million naira from Mr. Peter Obi. What is the state government doing? I don't think you've stated what exactly you're doing. You say you've done a lot of things. What exactly are you doing?
Yes, the state government now, they sent 6,000 trailers of rice, and the wife of His Excellency also was there yesterday. She donated the sum of 50 million naira and food items. And still, there are a lot of things that other agencies are contributing down to Makwa local government area.
So, Mr. Sulaiman,
and even the Niger State, food. The Niger food also donated 20 million. Niger food only donated 20 million and also food items.
So, Mr. Sulaiman, let's talk about what could have been done to prevent this. In April, the federal government had warned of heavy flooding and outlined 30 states that were that are high risk, and Niger State happens to be one of them. And we understand that Mokwa and the other affected communities, you know, on the flat plain of Niger State. Give us a sense of the topography and what the state government should have done to prevent this, such that would have been talking about preservation rather than loss of lives.
You know, about flood, not only local government, Mapa local government are suffering for flood. Nibusa local government is one of them. Mashegu local government, Pantagora local government, Mapa local government, Lapai local government, there are so many local governments. So wherever there is something like flood, the Niger State quickly zoom into action and make sure that the situation is calm. Most especially this issue of Makwa local government, as I'm telling you earlier, is a disaster, it's a natural disaster. So the Niger State now are preparing to take a serious action to make sure that it will not happen again by the grace of God. Because only God knows the secret behind what happened in Makwa local government.
But prior to this time, were there sensitization efforts on radio stations in Niger State for people in low-lying areas to evacuate and go to safer places and meet the rainfall prediction? Were there any such effort by the Niger State government?
Pardon?
Were there any sensitization efforts by the state government, i.e. the Commissioner for Ministry for Environment, to get people to be aware of the prediction, the heavy flooding prediction, and move to you know, safer areas, particularly those in low-lying areas and those in coastal areas? Was there any such effort by the Niger State government, Mr. Mohammed?
Okay, that is good. Niger State government, every year there is sensitization effort. Every year. Even today, last 2 weeks, I attended NEMA sensitization in Niger State. Now, also the state government also sensitization is going on. So it is not a new thing. Every year we do go to various areas, most especially down to the local level, to sensitize them about the issue of flood. So it's not new. The Niger State is trying as much as possible to make sure that this issue of flood is over by the grace of God.
What mitigation methods was the state government proposing prior to this time to preserve these areas from being susceptible to flooding? Mr. Mohammed, did you get my question? Mr. Mohammed, what mitigation efforts was the Niger State government proposing in terms of projects to preserve these areas from being susceptible to flooding prior to this time?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. Exactly. Of course, yes. The Niger State are making an effort to make sure that this flooding, by the grace of God, is put in place. It's not there more again.
All right.
Hello?
Honorable Commissioner, so let's talk about the humanitarian crisis. So you give us a bit, I like to use the word dashboard. It helps us to have an overview of what we're dealing with. I know that you've said that this is still preliminary stages in terms of knowing exactly the level of impact as far as this is concerned, but where are the people that are displaced at the moment? Where are they camped? How many are they so far? What level of intervention is given to them? What are the needs that have been assessed in terms of all of this? The children that are meant to be in school, the pregnant women, healthcare. Talk to us about all of this.
Hello?
Can you hear me now, Commissioner?
Yes, I'm with you.
Did you get my question? Did you get my question, Mr. Suleiman?
Hello?
Oh, dear.
Hello? Yeah.
Did you get my question?
No.
Okay, let me rephrase. I'm saying that the flood has happened, is gone. Now we're dealing with a humanitarian situation. Help us walk through what you found out. Where are the people camped? How many are they? What is going on with the children, the pregnant women, the people that are supposed to be in school? What are the plans? All of this. Just walk us through all of this. Oh, boy. Looks like technology, Bukola, is not the best of friends. But we'll see how I can get Mr. Ahmed Suleiman the connection to be sorted out so we can get this. So from what we're seeing conflicting numbers, or let's just say the numbers keep increasing, the death toll from the Mokwa flooding incident that happened a few days ago. It started off with just some tens, and now it's in over 100, going on 200. He's even mentioning 200. We have some data from NEMA, so the number of casualties, the number of bridges that have been destroyed, the number of buildings affected, persons displaced, persons missing, and it's just a horrible situation. So those are the pictures that came in when that incident happened. So you can imagine living here and just watching nature's wrath take on everything that is in its path, from roads to bridges to houses to businesses and all whatnot, Bukola.
This indeed is nature's wrath, and you know, for me, we need more satisfactory answers from the Niger state government about what could have been done to prevent this disaster. This didn't just happen upon us. There had been at least 2 predictions, early warning predictions of heavy rains in different parts of the country. And in fact, last month, the federal government did warn that about 30 states would experience heavy flooding and, you know, heavy onset of rainfall. So what exactly is the budget of the Ministry of Environment in Niger State? What are the mitigation and adaptation projects that have been proposed to protect these communities? We require more satisfactory answers, you know, and not just, you know, reactionary efforts that are being done now by the state government when we're already counting, you know, loss of lives. We need more answers. How will the people of Niger State and indeed other, you know, high-risk areas in other communities and other states be protected? Because nature would indeed, you know, unleash its wrath. Climate change issues are very, very real, and that's why we're talking about the need, you know, for you know, a conversation on ideas about how to protect human life, how to you know, raise the Human Development Index in these states, you know, either through the environment or, you know, other aspects of national life. So we hope that we'll get more answers from the Niger state government on how lives can be protected in the future as we expect more rainfall, because it's inevitable, you know, nature would, you know, take its course naturally. We'll take a break now in the hope that, you know, things are done better, not just in Niger State, but in other states. We'll take a break now and return with more for you on the program. Stay with us.
All right, so we hope we can catch Mr. Suleiman back to have that conversation. He's a commissioner for humanitarian affairs and disaster management in Niger State, talking about the flood. We just wanted to find out the effort of government as far as managing humanitarian crisis is concerned, as far as that incident is concerned. We don't know the actual number of deaths so far, but it's between 160 to 200, according to the numbers that are flying around. But he says it's the early days of all of this, but many people are missing, damages being done to the bridges and all of that. So, guys, I was just looking. Something needs to be done in terms of managing. You talked about ecological funds and all of these things, because That is where sometimes we realize that the monies are misappropriated or stolen in that sense. Something has to be done. The state has a budget of 1.5 trillion naira. That's the third largest budget. Lagos is 3.3. Abuja, FCT is 1.7. There is 1.5. I can tell you for a fact, it's not going to go close to achieving that budget size. I can tell you that for a fact, because let's look at their budget, what they did in 2024. The entire budget, in terms of what came to them, revenue from FARC, from donations, from IGR, was less than 200 billion naira. 200 billion. And the governor is putting 1.5 trillion. I don't know what magic is going to do. I would like to come back here and say, I was in a hurry to say this man couldn't do it. So how do you move from 200 billion naira that he generated in an entire year, FARC and IGR, to 1.5 trillion? I'm not going to put my face on that. Yep. So, but whatever amount he's able to garner at the end of the day, I think, given what has happened in Mokwa, we had a conversation yesterday when the SEMA guy said they've never seen this before. So it's more like a shocker. I think something has to be done in the appropriation. If it's not been done, they need a supplementary appropriation to see that flooding like this is mitigated. But all of that 1.5 trillion is just a political ambitious, no economically backed projection, in my view.
Well, politicians and optimism, quite ambitious,
and
right?
they should be cautious.
But when it comes to governance, you have to do a lot of planning, a lot of planning. And this just speaks to the elephant in the room. There are questions about, Governor Omar Bago, where exactly are you? He's out of the country, certainly. There were videos of him for a Hajj. Some people deleted that video because they saw that it got a lot of backlash, wondering why would you put up the video of a governor going for a Hajj when there's been a major disaster in Niger State. Yes, the deputy governor has been on ground. The question is, did he hand over power to him while he was away? I really doubt. The wife of the governor has also visited some of the areas affected and given relief materials, donations, and the rest. Yes, but there is something called that presence of leadership. So people see that the governor is on the ground. Imagine you've had to go for meetings out there, investment meetings, Hajj and all of that. But the moment such disaster hit and the news got to you, I mean, the onus is on the governor to show that situational leadership, like, I'm here with you people, return from whatever it is you're doing. That has been the call from a lot of people. So the question still looms large. Where is Governor Omar Bago? Is he out there doing something more important? And then what is happening at home? Those are the questions a lot of people have been asking. And I really hope that Niger State is able to recover from this, because that death toll leaves a permanent scar that might take a while to really recover from. But those are some of the questions that are being asked, and it's important to air these questions for the sake of accountability when it comes to governance in Nigeria.
I know, sometimes politicians, or either you wanted appointed representatives of government, would argue that it's not the amount, that is quoted in the budget that matters, even if government has to resort to borrowing to meet its obligations in terms of infrastructure development, but the sustainability, of the government to be able to pay back their debt. And this is to Jeffrey's reference to the 1.5 trillion naira budget of Niger State. So perhaps the government is resorting to borrowing, but perhaps the government is relying on increased FAC allocations, which according to reports, since subsidy savings, the removal of fuel subsidy, governors have begun to receive over 70% of what they used to get before. So the question is, where has it been deployed to in Niger State? If you go back to those videos, after the flood had receded, you would see that indeed these areas, there is very little development in these areas. Where are the drains in these areas, the drainages, to protect those people from flooding? Where are the canals? Where are the mitigation and adaptation projects? Again, we'll ask these questions. What you see more is underdevelopment rather than development. I cannot see the creation of wealth and prosperity in these communities. Look at the roads, just look at the roads. And it doesn't matter that, this rural areas, it is the rural areas that should, be benefiting from democracy. So we are asking these questions of the Niger State government, specifically now, the governor of Niger State and the Ministry of Environment. What is being done to prevent, this disaster from occurring again? Very, very critical questions about what has happened. It is really, really sad. And our prayers and our thoughts are with the people of Mokwa, Raba, and other communities, that have experienced this unavoidable disaster.
Well, let's just bring you some story from Ghana. And this is quite curious, what is also playing out in Ghana. But this is not a natural disaster related. This is more of a certain fight against anti-corruption. We understand that a former Minister of Finance of Ghana, Kenneth Yoforiata, has been declared wanted by the Office of a Special Prosecutor in Ghana. And just to put this in proper context, this man was minister up until February under former President Nana Akufo-Addo. So he's been declared wanted, and you can see in this particular flyer that was put out, there's possible locations: United States, United Kingdom, South Africa, Guyana, Hong Kong, and Cayman Islands. But the big question is why? Why has it been declared wanted? It says that it's meant to answer charges in respect of several cases, including strategic mobilization, GRA grant. There's also the default bit, which looms large when it comes to his time in office. So just maybe peeking on our neighbors, seeing what's happening there. Former minister declared wanted.
And of course, the reporters.
There are lots of us that are supposed to be declared wanted by now. I'm telling you, I have always been worried on how politicians. I'm just picking back on this. So let's come back to Nigeria. There are people you and I know that if not for governance or being in politics, they won't be as rich as they are today. But some of them are the ones still running affairs of government or not running affairs of government. But they're even larger than some states.
Let me show you.
In that sense. So,
former Abia State Governor, Ojus Okalu, said when he was in power, he was funding the state.
But EFCC took him to court.
I'm just giving you angles. There are different levels to this. And a lot of people...
How poor can a state like Abia be that it has to be funding the state? I don't understand that. How rich can you be that you're not using your, even appropriation acts in a sense? We'll be frowning at some of this. I don't know, sometimes politicians just talk. Yeah, I don't know whether he thought through what he said. Maybe I don't know whether I was talking about funding PDP. That can be excused.
State.
So, so entire states, he will now be funding the state.
He was supporting the state.
Well,
I'm just saying that.
We can ask more important questions of our justice system, because if you look at the political landscape, either you're looking at past elected representatives or those even still serving currently, there have been cases of prosecution against them that led practically nowhere. And some of them are still hanging, some of them yet unresolved. There have been investigations, there have been trials, but no resolutions. So what lessons are we learning from this particular case from Ghana that has gone the extreme, to issue a wanted flyer for its former government official? So there must be accountability to the people, to serve as a deterrent for elected representatives that will come in the future, such that there's a precedent that is set, such that there is a direction that, a government is going, and taxpayers' money will be preserved for development, and it will not be running a system that enriches the elite and leaves the people vulnerable. We're talking about the consequences today of governance that has been unsatisfactory. So those are the real issues, really, and you know, those are the lessons that we can glean from the Garda case.
Absolutely. So we need to, the EFCC has a lot of work. Sometimes I used to pity that, although I have made up my mind that my mark of the success or failure of the current EFCC chairman will be Yaya Bello. Whatever comes out of Yaya Bello's, former governor of Kogi State's case, is how I will assess that this EFCC chairman has done well or is flatly failed, because he put himself on the spot. He says he will pursue this case to its logical conclusion or he will resign. So, Mr. Alukoide, I know some of the fantastic things you're doing, but my yardstick, because we have to go for the big guns. It's either the man walks free because he was falsely accused, or he's sent to jail for stealing if he's found guilty. It has to be one of them, not something in between. If that doesn't happen, then Nigerians will have you to contend with at the end of the day. And I hope he ends well, because I've just remembered now, Kayode, that literally every EFCC chairman has somehow ended under very controversial circumstances. Literally all of them, or literally most of them, maybe 90% of them. So this is still his early days. But
there's usually redemption for them, because some of them find their way back into government as NSA.
Oh, like no Ribado.
Exactly. So who knows what will happen in 10 years?
We don't know what happened with Mago. What's the gentleman that the youngest of them, Bawa? We don't even know what happened. They accused him of all sorts of things. They accused Mago of all sorts of, how did that end? That's why we say government, now, not just Bola Tinubu's government, for context. Government sometimes is not serious with how they engage themselves. What is happening with Betta Edu? Did the lady steal money? Or she didn't steal money? Did she misappropriate, or did she appropriate? What exactly is going on with her? What exactly is going on with, I'm trying to remember the man's name. The man who went to declare results in Adamawa State.
Yunusa Hari.
Yunusa Hari. What happened to him?
Even the agency for social investment, at the head of the agency, what happened to
them?
To the investigation on allegations of corruption.
Let's use the right word. What is happening to them?
Big questions there, guys. And
until you do these things, you sound like a joke. Tompolo was declared, no, not declared. They said they'll arrest Tompolo or they invite him. What has happened to that invitation?
No, but it turns out that the EFCC is saying that the video may have been doctored. And so some are asking very important questions about whether or how the EFCC has become a defense counsel to.
So when it came to Tompolo, there's an explanation, right?
Yeah.
When it got to Tompolo, there's certainly an AI explanation to it. Anyway, I think they've done their investigation. They said they will invite him. We're waiting for that.
They have. I think they said they have invited him. So I don't know how long it usually takes to commute and to answer some of these invitations.
They'll go to Prosa and pick him up.
But clearly, that's taken a long time. But another issue that needs to be dealt with, and this affects our economy, is this issue of extortion by both state and non-state actors along the port corridors. If you've ever been in that area, or you do business that is either linked directly or indirectly to the port corridor, then you will know just how much of a mess that area can be. So we had some of the stakeholders in that sector, truck drivers under the Council of Maritime Transport Unions and Associations, as well as the National Association of Maritime Transport Operators, staging peaceful protest. And this peaceful protest was staged. If we can just show you the images of that peaceful protest that was staged, alleging extortion by both state and non-state actors. And you can imagine how that ripple effect on the eventual cost of whatever it is that you're selling eventually. So you pay the state actors. So when you say state actors, talking about law enforcement across board. Is it customs? Is it police? Is it the NSCDC? Is it the FRSC? Those are state actors, examples of them. Then the non-state actors, the people who approach you, give you tickets. Some of them don't give you tickets. Some of them just say, if you don't pay, you're not going past us. And there is actually nothing you can do. It's almost like an ungoverned space in a governed space, the irony of it. So these people just went there with placards bearing different inscriptions, started from Area B Junction, then to Eleganza Roundabout. But the call is unanimous. They're first calling for transparency and accountability in that call-up system, and they're concerned about maritime transport industry. So this is something that we expect government to look into. When you talk about ease of doing business, that is evidence for you right there. So please, let's ensure that this call-up system is sorted and extortions across board is nipped in the bud.
Okay, so maybe we'll start taking reactions of the people as far as the emails are concerned. We open the email line. Is the email line? The email
Portal.
So that you can portal, so you can get, we can get your reaction real time as the program is going on. So we will get to read some of these reactions you've been commenting, some of the things you commented on. You've talked about the Benue case. You've also talked about the Niger flooding incidents in that sense. So we'll take a look at some as quickly as possible. Maybe I'll start with, at some point, maybe our producers can put it up for us. But let's get started with, I think, Ukum.
We'll wait for that. But if you're, some of you happen to be around the Apapa Port area, you can write to us and let us know, what your experience is in that area. Why hasn't the call-up system worked? How does the, the system encourage non-state actors in that space? Why hasn't the proposal of government, over the years solved the congestion in that area? And if you also happen to be a practitioner, maybe you should also be telling us, why other ports have not been made to, take up some of the business, that is going on in the Apapa Port area. We also have a port in Ikorodu, and there are other ports that should just be as viable. We'll be interested in knowing your thoughts, about what exactly is happening in that space.
All right, let's get to your reaction via email. Chika Ebodili, you have two reactions. One has to do with Niger, and the other has to do with Benue. The first one with the Niger incident, he said the Nigerian government should stop playing games. Okay, still Benue anyway. Playing games with the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, especially in Benue, especially, I guess wanted to say from Benue, do those, they call them monsters, want to wipe out the entire Benue indigents? Yeah, there actually was monsters, if you allow me to say that. So those terrorists, I guess that's who you're referring to. I think the Benue State House of Assembly should enforce anti-grazing law in their state. And that's why we're pushing, Bukola and I, we're pushing, if the responsibility of government is to protect lives and property, we're not saying impeach a governor or whatever, you have the oversight over him. If he's failing at his duty, that is your job. It's not just to pass appropriation bill and pass resolutions that are going nowhere. You have to force, because you are the individual representative of the people from different state constituency, ensure the governor does his job. Put fire to his feet. However that can be done, no matter what measure it takes. Because if there are no people that are alive and people are being constantly killed, then the government has failed. That's why the ordinality or priority of government in section 14 has to do with security. If you go to the issue of fundamental rights, life is the first right that it talks about. That ordinality is very deliberate or deliberate by the framers of our constitution. That means that if that is not sorted, every other conversation we're having is irrelevant. So that has to be done.
Yeah, we have the next one from Chika Ebodili, who says...
No, the next one from Ukum.
From Ukum Shiamo, who says, I think the Benue State House of Assembly should enforce the anti-grazing law in their state. We're talking about the same anti-grazing law that was enacted by the former administration. The question is, why isn't it working? The question is, why is there seeming helplessness, under this administration about the security challenge in Benue State? Why are governors not also taking the federal government to task about, the lack of boots on the ground and the lack of equipment of the armed forces, or even the main security architecture in the state to tackle internal insurrection, and that would be the police? Why don't they have enough men? Why are these governors unable to take the federal government to task on these issues? I think that is the very big question, or as we say, the big elephant in the room, as far as insecurity in these areas, is concerned. And so we must continue to ask this question of the governors, Governor Aysin Thalia, Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State, we are hoping that we'll not have to, report attacks and deaths from these states anymore. But if we're, and as we are now, it seems it's an indictment on the elected representatives of these states, including the state assemblies.
I think that message from Okum Shimayo is on state of emergency, saying, my opinion is that there should be a state of emergency in all the affected local government in Benue, where this senseless killing is taking place. This user writes from Makurdi. I know that the lawmaker had said, well, that same security that you want to use to enforce state of emergency, how about you use it to protect the people, and then we can see whether that works or not. I think that is that's a very sensible argument. You can bring the boots, secure the people, but that's what this user, Shimayo Gilbert from Makurdi, has to say to the issues. Earlier on, we touched on some of the comments that were made by a former minister, former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi. Well, this user, Abdulrazak Shehu, has one or two things to say about it, saying, quite unfortunate that 98% politicians think more of how to celebrate their birthdays rather than death. How certain are they that they'll witness tomorrow, not to talk of 2027? Then he touches on the PDP situation, saying, honorable, or honestly, I don't know what HON means there. Wike ought to have been expelled from the PDP a very long time if the party leaders want to call a spade a spade. So, who are the PDP leaders?
He's one of the PDP leaders as a member of cabinet. It just interest wrangling. But I think there was enough 2023 anti-party activity. There was enough anti-party activity to go around, open anti-party activities that went around. But this is my worry. The kind of politics that people like Nyesom Wike are pushing in terms of political party institution is not good for our politics. I think he should just take a position. Is he for or against the PDP? He should just take a position. He's built, we must commend him for, when it comes to his work as minister, I think he's doing a fantastic job. Nobody would say he has not done a great job so far. But when it comes to the politics, it's very disturbing how it is managed across board, in my view. So I think he should just take a position, because it's not good for our democracy, the way they are running the politics. On one hand, you're going to work for the president, who is a member of another political party. On the other hand, you're saying nothing can happen to your place in the PDP. Choose a struggle, okay?
Well, I think it's clear. Minister Nyesom Wike has taken a position. I think the PDP we should be asking questions of the PDP.
Okay, the PDP should fire him then?
If
they have the courage, they should fire him. And he said they can't fire him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's what we'll do. We'll pass the baton on to Sunrise Daily. There's going to be a lot of these conversations
doesn't make sense
on Sunrise Daily as well. But this is where we draw the curtains on the show today. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
Of course, we'll be back again tomorrow and through the week. Thank you for being there. I'm Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeff Uzama. Bye-bye.